to go to any school in the country I wanted to go to. So you name it, I had offers. Whatever school you want to bring up. Um, and I only took 3 visits because I really thought I was going to go to University of Texas. I thought I was going to stay home. Texas was on the up and up, my junior senior year and looking promising. And thought I'd just kind of stay home. So I only took a Miami visit because I wanted to see Miami because what you see in the movies and shows and stuff like that. And what I had grown up watching, who was from my high school, Jesse Armstead, who won a couple of national championships there and had a long career with the Giants, multiple Pro Bowls. Kevin Williams also from Dallas. So watching Miami in the heydays of the late 80s, early 90s, I just wanted to see it. I had no intention of coming to Miami. And then took a visit to Michigan. Really, really, really liked Michigan. I almost became a Wolverine. And then I took my visit to Texas, man. And it was during that visit, man, my dad and I were really praying about it. And there were some things that just didn't settle with me well. And when I got home from the Texas visit, it was clear that Miami was the place, man. And Miami was the only one that was straight up honest with me. The receiver coach told me. He told me who he was recruiting, who he wanted. Everybody else was telling me, hey, you gonna start, you gonna come here, you gonna do this and this. He looked at me in the eyes and said, if you're ready to play, I'm gonna play you. If you're not ready to play, I'm a red shirt you and get you ready to play. And I said, I can respect that man. He looked me right in the eyes and told me the truth. And so it was Miami all the way, man.
Yeah, that's interesting that you chose Miami because Miami's going through like tough times with NCAA sanctions, scholarships being stripped away.
Yeah.
Bush Davis, came to coach in '95.
Yeah.
He was part of that regime. And that's the thing that was amazing that you chose that school because Miami's going through the struggles of being what they used to be. That's why that was interesting. Talk about that.
Oh, it was a big deal, man. That was actually so when I told people I wasn't committing anywhere until I took all my visits and that commitment was final. I didn't want to be one of them wishy-washy people and committing and decommitting. That's not how I wanted my word to be yes or no, And so when I said yes to Miami, man, a lot of people were coming at me with that very thing because there was another year of sanctions as far as my class. And then even the class after us, there was scholarships cut. So we weren't getting the same amount of scholarships as the other teams in the NCAA. But one of the things that jumped out to me that I couldn't shake was the way, when on my visit, the way the team, the guys, the way they did life together. Man, they were close. There was a different aura with the players there than the other schools that I had gone to. And then other guys I talked to that went to other schools that I decided not to take visits on. And these guys had this closeness, and all they talked about was like winning and getting better and all these. And the conversation was like, I want to compete with guys like that. Like other places, they were living the D1 life. They was enjoying it. You get treated well. When you play at top colleges. That's the realization of things. But that talk in Miami wasn't that. It was a different kind of talk about greatness and competing for championships. And that resonated with me. So I was like, that kind of attitude, that's where I want to go play ball. And so, man, when I say it was so many factors to it, man, we actually even had this little grid. Like I said, I had no intention. We had this spreadsheet, and Miami graded out higher than everywhere else too as well. So it's one of those things that my dad and I just felt like, hey, the Lord really lead me go down to Miami, man, and chase my dreams. I knew the way University of Miami was set up and the way the exposure it had, and then also having the coach at the time, Bush Davis, I knew that if I could get on the field and if I could play well, it would give me an opportunity. Not a guarantee, but an opportunity to go to that next level in the NFL. And so I was like, let's go. And like I said, I had coaches that trained me up and poured into me. I wasn't scared of competition. So let's go compete and this person win.
What kind of coach was Butch Davis to you personally?
Hey man, Butch and I still close, man. We still cool. I talk to him every blue moon now. He didn't play. He held us accountable. Myself, he knew what kind of person I was, and so he always challenged me to be the best version of me, to not let anything distract me, and to be my best. And there was a healthy mixture of, I had respect for him, but I also had a healthy fear of him as well. Like, I knew, like, hey, Butch didn't play games. If you weren't doing what you were supposed to do, there were consequences. And so, and he pushed us to be great, man. He pushed us he allowed me to run track in college. Some people don't know, but I was also a 5-time conference champ in track and field, in Miami as well. But that's something he supported because he also felt like, hey, the better I am in track, the better receiver I might be too, he was real supportive with that. But and he had an open door policy, man. If we had problems, issues, man, he knew how to use his influence for what we needed. But when I say that, I'm not saying it in a negative way or pulling strings. I mean, like, hey, if we had troubles, man, I've seen him with guys, I had teammates, man, that became fathers, at their young age, and Butch tried to put things in place to help them out, to where change the schedule, rearranging, training table times for them, or even times we had tutoring, things like that. He would make adjustments so these guys could, take care of their responsibilities, and that's something that I respected, with Butch during my time there.
Okay, let's get into the 1997 season. Obviously, you're still on probation. You went 5 and 6. The game I want to get into was, unfortunately, for the first game, you beat Baylor 45-14. Let's talk about that game, because Baylor, that's in Texas, right? Baylor? Yeah, talk about that game, winning that first game of your college career, 45-14.
Hey, that game is bittersweet for me because you gotta think about this. I'm a true freshman. I've left the state of Texas, and now my first game coming back home is in Waco, Texas, which is about an hour 15 from where I grew up. My uncle and aunt lived there. I had an uncle that played football at Baylor. So of course, I got all kind of family and friends want to come to the game. And then also, I had some guys that were actually on a recruiting trip. So when we came out the warm up, I saw guys that I knew, guys that I competed against in football and track, man, that were actually on a visit to Baylor. And were at the game because they wanted to see Miami. And I remember running out and they seeing me, and I told them something that was funny. First game of the year, I was initially number 2 on the depth chart behind Magic Benton. But Magic missed the practice during a curfew, and so he was suspended for the first half, a team suspension for the first half against Baylor, which bumped me to number 1. So I was the starting seed. First game of the year, true freshman at home. I have like 40, 50 people in the stands, man, draped in hurricane gear. And we had a senior quarterback who didn't trust me yet. And I started true freshman at home, and he didn't throw me one ball. I was ticked off. I was like, dude, throw me a hitch route. Throw me something, I've been a receiver, Omar Rowe. I think he probably caught like 9 passes that game, and we ran a pro set back then. So a pro set, for those that don't know, was primarily a 2-back system. So we ran a 2-back, 1 tight end, 2 receiver system. Unless third down, and on third down, sometimes we might bring in a third receiver. So we weren't one of those run and shoot offenses. We did not run a spread back then. So we were primarily run first team, and a lot of our passes off play action. So out of that pro set was a little different. So you didn't have, the number of receptions in a game like you'll see today, receivers with the style of play and the number of plays that's run in a game. So that game was a little bittersweet where it was fun. But I still to this day, I joke with Clement sometimes when I see him. I'm like, you should throw me at least 1 ball in the crib, man. You should throw me at least 1. So, but no, that was a great experience, man. And even seeing some guys come of age, in that game, Edgerrin James, I believe his first touch, was a touchdown. And I remember him literally telling me on the sideline, as soon as he get the ball, he taking it to the house. And he did just that. Had a big game that game, and really kind of that got the rest of his career was set in stone. He's Hall of Fame now, so it's pretty sweet.
Okay, so you go 5 and 6, and let's fast forward to the '98 season, the sophomore year. Go 9 and 3. You improve, you go have a better record, and again, I want to talk about was the question, this UCLA game. Edgerrin James had a big game. He
Yeah.
had 299 yards. Yeah, he just had an excellent game. And,
Yeah.
talk about that game, winning 49-45. That was the game of the year, and that's not UCLA
That was
out of that
that's
championship.
it did, man, and that started to get us back on track, man. That game really kind of catapulted us into being relevant again in college football, so to speak. And a lot of that attributed to really the off season, man. During that off season, a bunch of us decided. The receivers. This was in a newspaper article. Matter of fact, I'll be honest. I think Santana Moss or somebody said it before I even agreed to it, but they made a statement that the receivers, we weren't cutting our hair until we won a bowl game. And so I was a little upset about that. I was like, back then I used to keep a fade. Now I'm bald headed, but I kept a tight fade back then. And but we made a commitment, man, to work. We stayed home instead of going home for the summer. We stayed in school instead of going home for the summer. And man, we just worked out together, man, did everything together, and it created a niche, created a closeness and a competitive nature within us to where we saw we improved as far as our wins and losses. And the UCLA game was interesting because we were supposed to play earlier in the year, and we had a hurricane. Now, I remember I was mad because the hurricane never even hit. It was beautiful that Saturday morning. I was mad. I'm like, man, I'm at home. We sitting there watching, I'm in my dorm room watching college football that day, knowing we supposed to be playing UCLA. But it set up something pretty sweet later because we had a tough loss against Syracuse that none of us anticipated. And we got ready for that UCLA game, man. We had lost Reggie Wayne, wasn't able to play that game, and that was a big hit because he was our lead receiver as far as receptions. And but man, we went in with a confidence that UCLA wasn't ready for us, man. And they had a nice squad. I mean, they threw that ball all over the field. But our defensive backfield did enough of what they were supposed to do in getting us the ball. And as you already read, Edgerrin James was just unstoppable, man. In that game, that's one of the things I love about huddling up. I kind of missed that today when watching games today. They just stay spread out and call plays from the sideline. But the conversations and things we would say to each other in that huddle and look at each other and Edgerrin that game, he was unbelievable, man. So I knew he was great. Matter of fact, when he was the first running back in the draft, I told everybody as cold as Ricky Williams is, and Ricky Williams was the Heisman winner, all of that, I was like, Edgerrin James is that dude. And in that game, it was pretty special, man. It was a pretty special win. And that is really what got us, it really launched us into what I truly believe of why I even came to Miami and being the kind of team and the kind of organization we really could be.
Yeah, UCLA was ranked number 3 in the country, undefeated. Yeah, Edgerrin James had 39 carries for 299 yards and 3 touchdowns. So that was the game of the year in 1998.
First game of the year, man. He actually had over 300 when his last catch. He tried to bounce something outside and lost yards, and I was mad because I wanted him to finish over 300. But he was unstoppable. And Andre King and Santana Moss, they couldn't stop Moss, man. I remember he caught a deep corner route for a touchdown. I called it from the sideline because I knew when I saw the coverage, I was like, oh, this 6. So pretty special win, man. And it brings back memories even talking about it.
Okay, so you go to a bowl game, your first bowl game. It was the Mike Ron PC Blockbuster Bowl. You beat North Carolina State 46-23. What are your recollections of that game?
It was great. That game, it was kind of let's say in my mind. I'm not gonna say the team, but just in my mind, it was a game for me that I was like, okay, we're in a bowl, but we got to get this next level bowl games, but we couldn't take that team for granted. That was the team that had Torrey Holt, and Torrey Holt is, NFL Hall of Fame finalist. Torrey Holt was that dude in college football. He was raw. He single-handedly was dismantling FSU back in those days. And so we knew that was going to be a formidable opponent. But we went in that game with a high confidence that we would take care of business. And we wanted to make a statement to the country that, all right, Miami's back in the conversation. And we we also knew that that game would be big coming out of the probation and for recruiting and everything involved with competing at the level that we wanted to compete when it came to putting ourselves in positions to be in national championship contention. So that's what I remember about that game. But it was a good time. My first bowl experience. So it's pretty cool receiving some of the bowl gifts and things that you get. The activities they do. I think they did a pretty cool job with that. But our coaches did a good job of keeping us focused on the game as well.
Right, so go to the 1999 season. First game of the season, I remember this was a game against Ohio State, kickoff classic. Once upon a time, New Jersey used to have those early season games, kickoff classic.
Yeah.
They beat Ohio State 23-12. Talk about that game in 1999.
You know what? That game was interesting because I was ready to go, but I actually redshirted in '99. It was kind of written up like I was hurt or something, but that wasn't really the case. I kind of strained my hamstring in training camp, and I was ready to go week 1, but Santana and Reggie had positioned themselves to likely be first rounders following the '99 season. And then we all came in together. So 99 would have been all of our junior year. So they would have been eligible for the draft. And the anticipation was the way they were trekking with that they would probably go pro after the end of the 99 year. And then we also had Andre King, who played 4 or 5 years of baseball, then came back to Miami. So he was the same class with us, but King was old. We called him Uncle King because he was a lot older than us. We came into college at U1, we were 18 years old. King was like 22, 23 years old. So, and then we had just brought in a couple of freshmen, and nobody really knew how they would turn out. And we brought in a little no-name red shirt named Andre Johnson, right? I knew he was gonna be Hall of Fame, caliber too. So we brought in a couple of guys, and so coaches talked to me about the pros and cons of considering red shirt that year. That way, I would also have an extra year, and I would be kind of senior leader, kind of captain for the receiving corps with some young guys behind me. And so something that my dad and I really prayed about, the pros and cons, and really the only con was my pride, because I had 2 game-winning touchdowns, one in double overtime against Boston College my freshman year, another one against ranked West Virginia my sophomore year, 98. So 99 redshirt to be with the freshmen. I was like, I don't know what that looked like, and it was a really I grew a lot as a young man during that time, because what our coaches did was typically redshirts don't have to travel. I traveled to all the games. They made me dress and warm up for all the games, and I remember being so mad and so bitter, man. But it really shaped me in a lot of work ethic and a mindset of doing what I need to do, doing what I can for my team, for those that I'm accountable to help in whatever way I could. And so that 99 season was pretty sweet from the standpoint that I think I grew a lot as a person, and not just athletically. And so and that year was pretty sweet. We started out, we beat Ohio State. We lost a couple games we shouldn't have. We came close in that game, 99 year against Florida State. They just had a little too much for us that year, being honest. And then we finished strong, closing out, beating the bowl game against Georgia Tech, playing against Joe Hamilton, who was a great Heisman candidate that season as well. I had a lot of fun practicing and being Joe Hamilton in practice, getting our defense ready for that game. So that was pretty fun too.
Yeah, the Penn State game was against that was a monumental game. And Penn State, Miami always has a great history between each other. The 87 against the bowl, the 15 game, the 91 game, the 92 game. This is the first time in 7 years at that time that your squad met them.
Yeah.
You lose, unfortunately, to 27-23. That game was Chocolate Fields. He caught that pass. And he went all the way for a touchdown.
Choppy did what he was supposed to do, man. That was, I ain't gonna lie, that was an epic moment, because right before that play, man, I just knew we had won the game. We had done everything we needed to do to win that game, except on that one play, man. And I remember our coach got some flack for calling the all-out blitz. But if you look at the situation and circumstances, man, I don't blame the call. Penn State, they just executed better than we did on that play, man. And it was another moment that I realized when it comes to sports, man. Like they say, it ain't over till it's over. Like that game was over. That game was over, and then it wasn't. And it's like you can't take your foot off the gas. You can't quit. You cannot take your opponent for granted at any moment, because at any moment it can change like that. And so I think that loss hurt enough. It really got our attention to get us as a squad, and even us, some that were younger, to really think about, okay, what does it really take to win, and win at a high level, to win and to execute in times in games where you gotta make the play, and that was one of the things. But yeah, when Choppy Fields caught that, hey, I got to meet Choppy a little later, later on in life, man. I told him, I said, dude, that was epic. If you're a receiver, you want moments like that, and he had that moment, so that was pretty dope.
Yeah, that was 79 yards, and Michael Rump was on the coverage.
Yeah,
Coach
man.
Michael Rump, man.
Yeah.
79 yards. And James Jackson, very underrated back, scored a
Yeah.
39-yard touchdown, went 39 yards. Now the block right guard Richard Garcia. So,
Yeah. When JJ scored, JJ is an underrated back. If you go back and watch some film of JJ is cold. JJ can play, man, and he just lumped in there with a lot of great backs we had during that era, so he gets kind of lost in the shuffle. But JJ was raw, man. And yeah, man, that game stung, man. That game hurt because we thought we had that. But again, like I said, I think it was a big learning moment for us, understanding what it takes, what it really takes to win. Because Penn State was a formidable, team, man, and you want games like that. You want to be in those games. You come to schools like Miami and Penn State to be on national TV and play each other, and so it's in those moments you got to step up and make the play. And Rump, my boy, man, Rump had the coverage and failed and didn't make the play. He kind of failed at it. He swiped at it. He failed. Choppy caught it, and it was just like, dude, it was raining, so you don't even expect, you didn't even expect that to happen, man. But like I said, it ain't over till that clock is 0-0-0.
so next week, unfortunately, we lose to East Carolina, 27-23. Talk about that.
Terrible. Yeah, that game, Garrard went off at quarterback. We were up, I think, by 3 touchdowns or something like that, and we had some unfortunate fumbles. We had some injuries. Najee had torn his ACL. James Jackson had a high ankle sprain, and so we actually we were down to freshman running backs, Clint Portis and Jared Payton. And Clint had a great game, except for he had a number of fumbles, man, that ended up being costly, which changed him to be the Pro Bowl back that he ended up becoming. Clint became, I think, but he was, I think Clint was 17 years old in that game. He was like one of the youngest freshmen to play. He started in college football, and man, that was a heartbreak, especially getting ready to go into Florida State, which actually brought up a conversation after that game because we were just left with freshman running backs. There was a strong conversation about me the following week, starting at tailback that next week. I had come in, I was the reigning Big East 100-meter champ. I was healthy, but we decided that wasn't the course that I needed to go. I didn't need to be going to running back and then lose all that time. As far as I would have lost half the season. So, yeah, that game was tough. And like I said, the next week we almost got we didn't do enough. We didn't have enough to get it done against Florida State, but it was kind of those times of really, and you see a lot of the guys that were playing. Those are a lot of maturation that was going on there that I think really prepared a lot of guys to be great.
Yeah, and that East Carolina game, your team was up 23-3, had a 20-point lead.
Yeah.
3 misses in the third quarter. Ended up losing the game, unfortunately, 27-23. Yeah, the Florida State game.
You know what? Hold on. I'm gonna say something about that game too. Just what I learned about when you lose scholarships, it hurts. It hurts bad because I remember having a thought. Remember, I had to travel to all the games, so it was a hurricane, so we couldn't play at East Carolina because of the flooding. So we ended up playing. I think we played at North Carolina State. We played at their stadium, and so I remember being up there, and it was late in the fourth quarter, and we had some injuries. And when I say this, man, I'm speaking truly from an athletic perspective. This is no shade. I don't mean any harm by the statement I'm about to say. But we had somebody we had a walk on that needed to go in nickel coverage. And hey, he was on the squad. He was one of us. But I remember when he had to run on that field, I looked and said, Florida State don't have that problem. You know, they got bodies. They got, we used to call them, they got a lot of bullets in the chamber. You know, I mean, we were out of our guys and had to put a walk on that really had no business of being on the field for the University of Miami in crunch time in the fourth quarter. He just wasn't that guy. He just wasn't that kind of athlete. And I remember thinking about that's how punishing a team and taking away scholarships and catch up to you when you run out of the depth that some of the teams have. You know, like when you look at Alabama right now, Alabama's been dominated because Saban has dominated the recruiting landscape. So guys leave, guys get hurt, man. You got a dude that comes right in and they ready to go. And that was something that we've had to build up in Miami. So 99 was one of those last years where we saw the effects of, say, 96, 97, 98, not having the number of scholarships. Then we were getting them back. And so that's why 2000 and 2001 and 2002 looked a lot different because we were ready to reload and get the depth. And so that East Carolina game was where I learned the importance of, like, man, how you gotta stack them up, man. You gotta have guys ready to go when you have injuries because you never know how a game will play out.
Yeah, the Florida State game, yeah, I remember that game. And that game was without Peter Ward. Peter Ward was a electrifying receiver. He didn't even play. And it was 31-21. Talk about that game. That was very close, competitive. He was right there, but fell short by 10 points. Talk about that.
Yeah. I think it's the same thing, man. I think it was the same thing as I was saying, man. We went into that game with freshman running backs. We went into that game with some injuries on defense, and we just didn't have enough. Man. They went wild and wild. They was number one preseason. They ended up winning it all, beating B-Tech, and that was for a reason, man. Those boys are stacked, man. As much as say we have this rivalry, there's also a respect, So while I have no love for Florida State, but I respect the mess out of them. You mean the boys and during that time, man, they had some horses, man. And so their team and the depth they had and that defense they had, which that defense did get a lot of credit for what they really were. They beat us, man. We didn't have enough. We played well. My boy Kenny Kelly started quarterback at that time. We were roommates freshman year, man. He had a great game. It's his first year as a starter. But with the leadership they had from Winky, being a lot older, being a lot more mature, they got done. They made plays late in that game that really solidified their deal because we had some opportunities, but we didn't capitalize on it. And so yeah, they got it done, and they kept it going, man. Won the national championship that year.
Okay, so let's fast forward to the Georgia Tech game. Talk about Joe Hamilton. He beat Georgia Tech 28-13. I think Ken Dorsey played in this game too.
Yes.
Ken Dorsey. Talk about that game. Is Ken Dorsey being in this game?
Hey, so Kenny Kelly had some injuries, and Dorsey was coming in, doing some spot playing, and they might have split time during that game. What was pretty cool with that was that Dorsey showed really what he was and what he was going to be, man. His decision making, his playmaking ability was special. We watched film, and Dorsey, he went where he should go almost every time with the ball. He was a student of the game. He can make the throws, and Dorsey is competitive. He's even now, all the games he won in college, but as an NFL coach, all the things he's achieved, man. His competitive nature, man. He doesn't quit, and so that game was really cool. And it was a coming out party for some guys like Clint Portis, as a true freshman, still had a huge game, had some amazing runs in that game, and and that really, I think that bowl game was needed for us. It was a January 1 bowl, which those are the bowls you want to go to. And so it was a January 1 bowl, and that was when we knew we were on track. We were on track and on schedule to be heading in the direction we want to be. As I keep saying, we wanted to be in national championship contention, and so we knew we had to win that game to be in that conversation for that next season.
Okay, so now forward to fast forward to the 21st century, 2000. Now expectations are really, really high. Like you was talking about the depth. It seemed like this is the year 2000 where the depth started to come into play. Game one we want to talk about, unfortunately, we obviously beat the Snakes 61 to 14, but the next game was against Washington, and that was a game that was major because in '91, 30 years ago, Miami shared the national championship with Washington. In '94, unfortunately, they beat your team. Obviously was not the team, but Miami had this 58-game winning streak snap. It was 38 to 20. Now you play them in Washington. Unfortunately, lose this game 34 to 29, which would be the last. It would be a long time since Miami would lose at that time, like 3 years. They went on a 34-game winning streak. But talk about unfortunately losing that game in Washington.
Man, that was a heartbreaker, man. That game, I never like to make excuses. Well, I don't offer excuses, but one of the things that I learned too is that during that game, when there's bad calls or what you perceive to be a bad call by the ref, you got to play anyway. And so in that game, man, we had some calls that were really unfortunate, and the timing was bad. It cost us some certain things, and we did not do enough to overcome them, man. And so we had opportunities, and we didn't have enough, man. And so I believe both of us were ranked. We were both ranked top 10. I want to say we might have been ranked, but both of us top 5. I know it was they might have been number 6, we might have been number 3. I forgot what it was, but it was a big time game, and Tuiasa Sopo and those guys, man, they got it done. They ended up going, I think, with 10-1 that year too as well. And so, and that was a game that really ended up. We lost by 5 on the road. And it was the second game of the year. And after that, man, we really made a commitment to each other about how we were going to approach the rest of the season and what we thought we needed to do to make a run to get into that BCS National Championship game. And it was after that, man, that you see somewhat a shift in us and how we approached and how we actually played against teams and how we beat teams the rest of that season. So yeah, man, that was a big game. That was a tough loss because that loss eventually kept us out of the national championship, which we would have played Oklahoma that year had we taken care of business.
And I want to get to obviously the Florida State game. Florida State was defending national champions and came to this game, 17-game winning streak, and win that game 27-24. Obviously, that was a monumental game for the program. Talk about that game. Wide right, part 3.
That's my first time beating Florida State, man, on the field, and that was sweet. Because young people may be listening, they don't realize how big those games were back in those times. We used to call Florida State game the TV game. That's going to be on national TV. Everybody's going to be watching. That game historically had national championship implications, the Miami-Florida State game. So we knew how big that game was. Again, coming in defending champs, Chris Weinke, at the helm, the quarterback, man, and the athletes and the talent they had. We knew we had to have a certain level of execution, man. And so I'm going to let some people get a peek behind the curtain of Miami football during Florida State week. So one of the things that you got to get in mind, you get in Florida State mode is the Sunday before that Saturday game. So in the locker room, when it hits midnight, so it starts that Sunday morning, there's a loop of a song that plays in the University of Miami locker room leading up to Florida State game. And it's their Tomahawk chant. It's and it plays 24/7. No matter what time you go in, you walk in the locker room, you're we practice with that chant going. Because one of the things is, it happens. When you play Florida State, they will do that. The fans and the band play that all throughout the game, and it can be deafening sometimes on the road and away. And so our coaches put us in the mindset to where that music, that song won't even bother us. It's almost like it become white noise. We don't even hear it anymore. And they get louder when they make plays. We don't even hear it. And so it's a lot that goes into that game. And of course, me being a Texas boy, I didn't have a lot of these, but I had some guys actually from Texas that played at Florida State during that time. So Montre Holland, Patrick Hughes, those guys are from Texas. So we all friends now. We talk noise, have a good time. But those are some guys I knew from home state, there. But then a lot of the guys on our team grew up playing against guys like with Florida State. So some of these guys played high school ball together. They played against each other in high school. So there's a lot going on in that game. And so that game was pretty sweet to get that win, to get that W. And I'm going to tell you, if the last drive, the go-ahead touchdown drive, they had scored and they were kicking off. And I told Dorsey, I said, if they kick me in, I'm not taking a knee. I'm gonna get it out. I'm gonna try to, if I can't run, I'm gonna try to get it out as far. I was like, because 80 yards and the time clock, I was like, man, that's gonna be tough. I said, I'm gonna try to shorten the field. And so I brought it out where I probably should have taken a knee, but I got it out to about the 35, 40, somewhere around there. And from there, I said, let's go, and we made the plays, man. And I think Shockey caught a go-ahead touchdown. And, we gave him enough time though to try to take the thing to overtime, and like you said, it was another wide right. He missed it, just a little too far. He tried to put a little too much on it, and we walked out there with that W. So that was pretty sweet.
This game, obviously snapped Florida State 17-game winning streak. It marked the 9th time since before that Miami halted the opponent's double-digit winning streak. So that shows you how when Miami was great, like that team in 2000, they always find a way to beat a team with a double-digit winning streak. That was the 9th time at that time. Shockey scored with 51 seconds left. Santana Moss had 7 catches for 115 yards. Dan Morgan, very underrated linebacker, had a big game, 17 tackles, forced fumble and interception at the 2-yard line. So that was a big win. Let's get to fast forward to Virginia Tech. That was another big win, winning 41-21. I think Virginia Tech was number 2 in the country. Talk about that game.
Yeah, man. So we beat number 1, came back to beat number 2. Michael Vick, it just come off a tear in '99, and all the accolades and hype that surrounded him. But like I said, we were on a mission, man. We believed, it can be easy to say in hindsight, but we believed after that Washington lost, man, that it wasn't going to happen again. We weren't going to have it. And so we went into that Tech game with the mindset that Mike Vick, it don't matter who showed up in front of us, we gonna do what we need to do. And that was a cool game, good afternoon game. It's funny, they used to schedule us at night when it was freezing up there in November. They come here, we scheduled it at noon where it's hot and humid, and that humidity was catching up to them, man. And we had at that time we had built up our depth chart was stacked. We would rotate defensive linemen, and you may mention Dan Morgan. Dan Morgan, one of the most decorated linebackers in NCAA history, man. We call him Danimal. Danimal around 4'4" at middle linebacker, man. He was a monster, and our that defense, along with our guys with Moss, Reggie Wayne, the backfield with at the time still James Jackson, Clint Portis now, more mature Najee Davenport, man. We were rolling, and so like I said, we went in with a mindset that game. We knew the stakes. We knew we beat number 2. We are legitimate contenders for this national championship, and so we went out to care of business.
Yeah, just when you snapped another winning streak, the Hokies Virginia Tech had a 19-game regular season winning streak. You snapped that. Also, you snapped the 5-game losing streak to Virginia Tech. So that was a big win. Let's fast forward to Florida. We beat the Gators. It had been a long time since 1987 that Miami played the Gators. Win 37-20. Talk about that game.
Hey, we we were. Let me be honest. We were upset. We were upset that the BCS didn't put us in the national championship game. Man, we had the last 3 games of the year. We had beat some ranked opponents. We had, I think, outscored them like 112 to like 10 or 17. I mean, they were blowouts. And back then, margin of victory was considered within supposedly in the BCS calculations. And they didn't put us in. So we actually went into that Florida game with a little bit of a chip on our shoulder, to be honest, man. We felt that we deserved over Florida State to be in the national championship game. And we wanted to show the country that we thought we were the best team in the country. And so we went against a really, really good Florida team. You know, they had Lito Shepherd at corner. They had they were rotating at quarterback, Rex Grossman and Palmer, Jesse Palmer. They had Ernest Graham at running back. They had Riche and Gaffney at receiver. I mean, they could score. They could score. You know, their offense was potent. And so, but again, I tell you, we went in, we believe we were the best team in the country. And we had each other's back in such a way that was pretty remarkable. And so to pull off a big win like that in the Sugar Bowl, I think was epic. But that win was really to be a statement to the NCAA and to the country of what we thought we really were and what we were going to be going forward.
Yeah, your squad, that team should have been the national championship. They should have won the national championship. And then when you beat the #1 team in Florida State, #2 team in Oklahoma, should have won the national championship. That should have been.
I'm like, dude, how in the world the BCS didn't put us in? We lost the second game of the year by 5 on the road to a top 10 team. That team goes on to go 10-1. They lost only one game that year, so it wasn't like they were a bad opponent. It wasn't a bad loss. And then we run the table, beat #1 and #2, and we were blowing folk out, and they put Florida State in over us, man. So that hurt, man. That's upsetting. I still believe. I got buddies that were on that Oklahoma team. Hey, much respect. They got it done. Undefeated national champions. Congratulations. And I tell them without that, I tell them with no. I mean, y'all thank God y'all didn't play us that year, because y'all, that would have been our ring. We done won that game. But hats off to them, man. They do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, Washington finished #3. People, Miami finished #2, and Oklahoma finished #1. Let's fast forward to 2001. Now, this is truly, crystallizes the culmination of Miami being back to being the U that they used to be. And we're going to start with 2001. You beat Penn State 33-7, hostile environment. And, that offense was just such a well-oiled machine. You dominate that game. Talk about that performance against Penn State.
Hey, when I say we worked, after that Sugar Bowl, it virtually was no break. We had something to prove, man, to ourselves and to the country. And so that 2001 going into Penn State, I hate to say it like this because it can sound wrong, but it was kind of a check off the box. It was like, who's next? Who's next? And the Penn State, we knew that was big, going up to Happy Valley, Death Valley, whatever they call it, some valley. It didn't matter. No offense to my Penn State folk in there, but it didn't matter. They had just added on to the stadium too, so I think it was like a record for Penn State fans. It was like 117,000. Yeah, it was crazy. It was really cool. I will say this: it was a cool environment, and we had looked forward to. One of the things we talked about was like, we want all 100. Like if we had 20,000 in the stands, we wanted the other 100,000. If it was, I'm saying 120,000, we wanted 100,000 people in there quiet. We wanted to shut the whole stadium up. And we went into that game believing that they were too big and we were too fast and too quick for them to keep up with us. And that was really our confidence going into that game. And so we went in there and we handled that. It was kind of like, all right, check #1, let's keep it going.
And Dorsey had a great game. Yeah, it was a record crowd at the expanded Eagle Stadium. Dorsey had a great game, 20 of 27, 244 yards, 3 touchdown passes. Clayton Boyce ran for 164 yards. Your squad had a 30-0 halftime lead. It's a well-oiled machine in that game. Just running the ball, throwing it.
That was cool.
Yeah, 30-7. Okay, so the next game I want to get into is Florida State I think that was the snapping of the 54 game unbeaten streak that Florida State had. So talk about winning in that game, because at that time Florida State had lost in a long time, had a long unbeaten streak. Talk about winning up there at Doak Campbell Stadium.
That was that game. The Florida State game, as I said, is always a different kind of game, and we do, of course, again, national championship implications. We lose that game, we're out of the conversation for a national championship. But then, like I said, it goes even deeper than that, because these are guys for the rest of our lives, man. We're gonna be talking about the games we played against each other, and going into Doak Campbell was one of the most tough environments to play in. The noise, the atmosphere, everything, just the pressure in every way. From doing this ESPN game, like I said, it's just so much pressure during that game. But again, that 2001, we felt more prepared. We felt as though we by far were the best team, and we came out there again. With all the implications surrounding it, we coming to check a box off, man. In Florida State, you up this week, you gonna get it this week. Moving on to the next. And so that was a pretty sweet win, man. I actually got a high ankle sprain in that game, which was devastating, man. Caused me to miss a lot of time during the rest of the year, which was another step for me growing up, man. I was actually married. I got married the summer before the season, so I was the married uncle in the locker room, and I remember I had a whole bunch of thoughts about what my future might be and all of that. But then I realized, I was like, hey, I did all I could do to help my team. I was like a player coach, during the games that I was out. And but I knew it was special during that time, and watching the maturation of Andre Johnson just come to, oh my goodness, man, just become the monster that he is. It was pretty cool, man. It was a pretty sweet time of my life.
That was a big week. Andre just had 5 catches for 111 yards. He scored a touchdown. Yeah, there was scoring pass from those who had 3 touchdowns.
Might score two. He might have scored 2 that game.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Dre was unstoppable. Dre was a monster, man. He came into his own in 2001, man. Body matured, his mindset, the work he put in. Man, to be as big and as fast as Dre was, man, it was almost like it's not fair for defense, man. It's not fair.
Those 3 touchdown passes. Also, Ed Reed had the 5th-year senior had 2 interceptions in the block punt. So I have a dislocating right shoulder. Talk about the speech that he made. I think it was at halftime. It's a famous speech. Talk about that.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't even know where that came from. I look at that video and I'm kind of standing there at the tail end, and you see him walk by me and I'm walking behind. I yell out, "Let's go!" I don't even know where it started. I don't even know why he was. We were winning the game, so I was like, I didn't even know why he was mad. But I looking back on it, I do know this. Like, one of the things is we weren't so much just satisfied with winning. As interesting that can sound, we wanted to be our best, if that makes sense. Even if we were winning and we were making mistakes, if we were making mental mistakes, if guys were jumping off sides or if guys were dropping balls, like, it don't matter. Like, yeah, we could be winning, but if something not right. So I think Ed was upset with some things that was going on because we weren't executing really to our best, even though we were handling the game. And I think it was a call again. It is one of our great leaders from a call to accountability, man, to everybody do your job. Everybody do your job. Don't cut any corners, and don't quit. We will not relent until the game is over. And so that's really where that came from. But like I said, I don't even know where it got started. I was joking with him the other day. I was like, dude, I don't even know where that came from. But it's etched in history, though.
Okay, so you win that game. Game 1, game 2. Now remember this game, Boston College, 18-7. That's a game where Matt Walters intercepted the pass, and then Ed Reed, the guy that he was, the ball hawking safety that he was, is finding a way to make a play. He took the ball out of his own team's hand, Matt Walters. It goes all the way for a touchdown to win 18-7. Talk about that game in Boston Boston College?
Hey, that game was scary. I'm not gonna lie, man. We would not execute. We were not playing well on offense, man. Our defense kept us, and that was a huge defensive win. We were up 11-7. I don't even know how we got 11 points. I don't even know how we got 11 points, man. But we just weren't. And defense was holding down. I remember Ed coming down, and he was like, "Offense, don't worry about it. They won't score anymore. We're gonna stop them." And he was like, "Y'all just do what y'all do." And for some reason, man, we just weren't executing. We weren't getting it done. And when that play happened, I remember on their last drive, they had converted 2 fourth downs. And so I was really just kind of coming back off my ankle sprain injury. I think I might have played like 2 plays. I was limping. My coach, I kept begging to go back in, but he was like, "I'm limping too much." And I remember when they were driving, I had told the defense, and I was with Andre, I was like, "If they score, me or Andre are running the kickback. We will not lose this game." And they were getting in position to score it. And I remember for some reason, I was watching the receiver, and Mike Rump jammed that receiver up at the line so well, he couldn't get off the line, and the quarterback threw the ball anyway, so Mike was in position to catch the interception. But if I got any DBs listening right now, you know, receivers and DBs always talk noise to each other. So Mike Rump, being the DB he is, that ball hit him like right in the stomach and his thigh, and he kicked it up, and that's how Matt Walters caught it. And I said, being a DB, it is. DB's a great athlete that can't catch, right? So, so Mike's supposed to have that interception, but it popped up in there, and Matt caught it. And I remember Ed snatched out his hand, and I told Ed, "Don't ever do that again." You think about it, he snatched out his hand. Matt didn't give him the ball. If he fumbles that ball and Boston gets it back, I mean, it's a problem. So, but Ed ran that thing back, closed the game out. It was a wrap. And so it was almost like, all right, next up. But again, it goes to what I said. The mindset we had was, hey, we're going to get it done. And not every game is going to be easy. Not every game is going to be a blowout. But you got to compete. You got to execute on all 4 quarters. You got to execute till that game is over. And that was another one of those games where you saw, I think, our maturity and how our mindset was approaching the game.
Final week, you play Syracuse, plays much better. You win 59-0. It's a good, Syracuse team. You win 59-0. Talk about that game.
That game, being honest, it was kind of like a response to the year before. We didn't want to leave any doubt of who we were. We didn't want the BCS. We put no trust or any faith in the BCS because they'll do whatever they want to do anyway. So we wanted to leave no question when it came to that Syracuse game and closing out as we should, in a sense, getting ready. Knowing we can go into a tough opponent in Virginia Tech up there in Blacksburg.
Okay, so next game obviously was a revenge game against Washington. You beat them 65-7. Performance. Talk about that game.
That was pretty cool, and that was my senior night against that team. And I will say this, man. Sometimes people don't like to say it, but it really was a revenge game, man. It was a revenge game against Washington, a revenge game against BCS, a revenge game against ourselves. That we were upset of what could have been the year before, and we were coming out. And so, man, we were clicking around all cylinders. Our offense was unstoppable. Our defense was just relentless. Our defense was unbelievable that game, you know. And we had a good time, man. And one of the things was as a team, we had some senior leadership. We had a number of fifth-year seniors, and our team as a whole wanted to send the seniors out the senior night on a high note. And so we really had a really good time and a lot of fun in that game. And that's why you play the game, really, to have fun. That was one of the funnest games of playing. Not just because we were winning. Yeah, that makes it fun. Nobody has fun losing. But we really just had a lot of fun playing with each other.
Yeah, Dorsey had 3 touchdown passes. Jerome McDougal, I think he's a junior transfer, right? He scored on a touchdown. Jerome McDougal. He was a transfer. I think Drew
I,
transferred at the time.
you know what? I guess Duke was a transfer. I don't even, to be honest, man. Some of them guys, I see some of the guys on defense. Sometimes, man, football is an interesting sport because sometimes you spend so much time with your position groups and your side of the ball. That, yeah, you get to know some guys on the other side of the ball, but it's almost like two teams within one team. And so, Jerome McDougal, Vince Wilfork. I know Vince came in early. He was a true freshman, but he came in that spring. And so, our D line was unreal. You know, I think we were rotating 3 or 4 of them were first round picks. You know, they were unreal. And McDougal coming off that end. You know, McDougal and Andrew Williams, man, them boys could run. And so, those quarterbacks were in trouble. You know, and so, like I said, our defense from every part, from the D line, the linebackers, and the DBs, it was something special. I believe at that time, I think that year we might have. I know we had a school record. I think we had set some record with either margin of victory or
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
you was receiving touchdowns. Like our DBs, I don't think they gave up only a couple of touchdowns passing. Like it was something crazy that year. Yeah, it was crazy.
I think it was a record for the for beating 2 ranked opponents back to back weeks. Something like that. For the margin, I think that's what you're referring to.
Yeah.
So now the last game of the season, obviously you had to go to Virginia Tech and Blacksburg, 24, but it was up. It was doing good, like as far as playing in convincing fashion. But then they came back. It came down to a 2-point conversion, and Ernest Wilford didn't make the play. So talk about that game, winning 26-24 to clinch opportunity to go to the Rose Bowl to play Nebraska.
That game was almost a heartbreaker because lessons we had learned before, we almost act like we didn't learn that lesson, and that's really don't take your foot off the gas, man. And I think we got very relaxed. I think we got we were up significantly, had the game in the bag. I remember guys at halftime, you know, this was so out of character for us, but guys I remember we talking about the Rose Bowl, we were talking about the next game, but we never talked like that. We always kept our current opponent at the fore. And so, I think some guys even made calls talking about booking, getting tickets booked, to the Rose Bowl, stuff like that, man. And you can't do an opponent like that. And it almost cost us. They started executing plays, man. I think they blocked a punt and a field goal, which B-Tech is known for that, man. That Beamer ball, they execute. Beamer ball was known for they execute on all 3 sides of the ball, offense, defense, and special teams. I mean, special teams are always special. And so that was a game, man, that we got out of there with a win, and it was one of those fights tooth and nail. And one thing that I always respected about B-Tech was a lot of teams used to come in and play against us during those times afraid. They played scared. B-Tech never scared of us. B-Tech was never scared of us, man. They look us right in the eye, and it's like, let's go. So every B-Tech cat I respect, them boys, they come with it. And so that was a game, man, that we did what we need to do to come out of there with that W, man. And I think that game actually was a wake-up call to what you ended up seeing in the national championship game.
Yeah, like you said, the Beamer ball, the punting, block, the linebacker, Brandon Manning, turned the point, 20 overtime. Eric Green made the pump block, and it came down to a 2-point conversion. And Ernest Wilford dropped a 2-point conversion pass, and Grant Noel took the 2-point pass, but he got sacked 4 or 5 times and all that. So every bit of interception, and like you said, taking the foot off the gas pedal and all that. He was up 20-3. It was crucial squad. His squad was up 17 points, and you didn't put the game away, like you said.
Yeah.
So now it's the Rose Bowl. There's a chance to get back to the national championship. Win it for the 5th time. You do that in grand style. You win. There was no doubt in this game. You won 37-14. Talk about that win against Nebraska. Finally won the national championship. At that time, it had been 10 years since Miami won the national championship. And you finally, did it in 2000 for that season. Talk about that game.
Oh man, we had the support of Hurricane Nation, man. All the man, they would come and visit and cheering us on. They had our back such a way we knew we were playing for something even bigger than ourselves. Of course, we're living our dream. You know, all of us had wanted to be in that moment. And so and they kind of seeing from myself being a fifth year senior, freshman year going 5-6 no bowl game and now undefeated with an opportunity to play for a national championship, man, was a really answered prayer, man, dream come true. And so we went in, man. We worked so hard that week that barring any myself, or at least I know our receivers, barring anything that was mandatory, man, we were so tired or so whatever. We just stayed in the hotel, man. We didn't really do much during that week. Our mindset was the bowl week is for everybody else to enjoy. We're actually here to win a football game. So while families and everybody was there having a good time for the week, all the Rose Bowl festivities, we knew we had a job to do. And so we came in, man. We came in shape. We came in ready. And at the end of the first quarter, I remember vividly getting on when you see us on the sideline, we get on the phone. We're talking to one of the coaches up in the booth, in the booth that's watching the game and calling plays up there. And I remember telling CJ, our receiver coach, me and Andre got on the phone and we told them, we said, they have quit. They literally quit. We saw it in their eyes. They quit. They were no mas. They didn't want any more, man. And years later, I found out one of the O-linemen, Brett Rumberg, I'm not going to say the O-lineman's name, but Brett Rumberg, I started center, played on a team with a particular individual from the University of Nebraska that was an O-lineman. And that O-lineman before the game, he said during the week when they were, during the bowl game, there are different festivities and different things that happen, and the teams are together. So we went to Jay Leno's show together. We went to Disney together. We do a lot of stuff together. Now we're not mingling that much together. The captains, we spent a lot of time with their captains. So the Heisman Trophy winner Eric Crouch, me and our captains Dorsey and Ed Reed, Brian McKinney, Joaquin Gonzalez, we all hung out with their captains, Eric Crouch and those guys, Keo Craver and those guys. With the teams, we kind of would be in the same places, so we would see each other. And this offensive lineman told Rumberg that when they saw us, they thought we were small, and they thought they were gonna slap us around. And the offensive lineman told Rumberg in the middle of the first quarter, they were looking at us on the field, and he said, they were like, what in the world is this? They had never seen a team play so fast and so tenacious. And so, I think we had gone up 30-0, man. And I remember this can sound crazy, but I'm going to be honest. We were up 30-0, man. I was bored out of my mind. They weren't competing anymore. And I remember thinking, man, I just want to go to the hotel room and kick it with my wife, man. We get some room service and watch a movie because these dudes are quick. it was that kind of game, And then we put on the break. Coca he pulled us out. I actually wanted to play a little more because I only had one catch. And I was like, dude, I'm a senior. I need to get some more balls, man, what a great time. And like I said, it was a dream come true. Answered prayer, man, something I prayed about for years, and I'm grateful.
Okay, yeah, that capitalized, a great season. And most people think that team, that 2001 Miami Hurricane team, was the greatest ever because of the NFL talent that was on that team. You agree? I know you maybe biased. You think that was the best Hurricane team of all time?
Let me lead with. Okay, I am biased, so I'm never gonna deny that. I am speaking from a biased position, but also with that, speaking from an objective standpoint, when you look at the year we had the top 25 ranked teams beating the Heisman Trophy winning the national championship in the fashion we did, along with the talent, the NFL talent that was on that team. I believe that team right around 44, 45 NFL players, 17 first-round picks on that team, going undefeated. Potentially 5 NFL Hall of Famers on that team as well. Ed is in now. Gore will be in. And it's likely that Brian McKinney will get in. Vilma may get in at some point, and then also Vince Wilfork. And And so it's likely that team will also have 5 NFL Hall of Fame players as well. So it was a special team, man. When you go across the board, I don't think any other team in college football history measures up across the board. If you go position group by position group, you went from quarterback, to line, to tight ends, to backfield, to receivers, to D line, to linebackers, and DBs. I don't think any other team measures up. And there are other great teams. I give my hats off, man. Last year's Alabama team, this past year, 2020's Alabama National Championship team, man, great team. I don't think that they are as good as, say, the year before, 2019 LSU team. I'm one of the first ones to say that LSU squad was epic. We'll see what they do. It's coming to going on even in the NFL careers. But all in all, looking across the board, I would say that 01 Miami team is something special. And even some of the veterans, the alumni that played on some of the great Miami teams, I remember they even said they thought, they were pretty much all of them, they were saying that 01 Canes were the best Canes team. They are the best team in college football history.
Yeah, and we talked about the opponent's record against ranked opponents. 2 games against Syracuse and Washington played against those teams. Yes, they had the largest deficit against ranked opponents in college football history as far as Miami being sent 59-0, 65-7 against Washington. Yes, that was the largest deficit, as far as margin of victory that mentioned. We talked about. Yeah, so that's true. That's the largest to this day that has not been duplicated. So yeah, that was a great team.
That defense was epic, dude. That defense. Look, man, our practices were epic. Our practices were some of the most competitive. Our one-on-ones between receivers and DBs, I tell you, man, there's some tape around. I met a dude at a barbershop years ago. He was a high school coach. He had a tape of our one-on-one videos. All the NFL scouts would be there doing our one-on-ones, and it was a bunch of talking, a bunch of chatter, a bunch of noise talking, and some competing, man. And so it was that kind of atmosphere that bred us into what could have been, and this was I gave props, just a moment ago to some of the recent national champions. But what could have been, Miami, we really should have won 2000, 2001, and 2002.
Yes, definitely.
In 3 years, we only got one of them out of there, which shows, how difficult it really is to win a national championship. And that's why I say, what Nick Saban is pulling off right now at Alabama is pretty remarkable, it's difficult, man. It's difficult. And there's so many things that need to be occurring to get it done. So I'm grateful, man. I thank God, man, for that opportunity. What it's done for my life, man. I use it as an example. It's funny, being a national champion, and I got some pictures up on the wall. My kids couldn't care less, but I always use it as motivation for them to whatever dreams they have, whatever goals they set, to chase them, and don't be scared, and don't be deterred. Be full throttle, go after it, learn what you need to do, and go do it. And so I let them know I was able to do it in my life. Do it in your life.
Okay, so now fast forward to the NFL career. You got drafted by the Giants. What was it like playing for the Giants?
That was when I keep saying dream come true, man. It was weird, being honest. Growing up my whole life in Dallas, Texas, and then getting drafted to play for the New York Football Giants, man. I had uncles that told me I love you, nephew, but I'm cheering for you, but I'm not cheering for the Giants. It was real, but it was one of those things too, man. In that moment in my life, man, I didn't care who drafted me. I was ready to go play, and I was grateful. I came in, man. The Giants organization was very good to us. Had a lot of favor, man. There's some great people in the organization. And then veteran guys really embraced me, man. I got some good relationships with guys like Mike Barrow, Money Toomer, Ike Hilliard, Belton Joyce, Ryan Clark, Mike Strahan. Man, those guys embraced me. They saw my competitiveness and my work ethic, and they respected me as a man, as a player, as a husband. And so it was really cool. It was really cool, man. My introduction to the NFL, going to the largest market, in the world, going to New York. But it was really cool, and I learned a lot from that experience. And like I said, it was a dream come true, and learning the business of it. Football is a business, and so learning the business of it as well was a really cool time and milestone.
So you played with them for 1 year, then you went to Chicago and Minnesota. So why such a search, like a short, career in the NFL? What happened? What went wrong?
Yeah.
What happened?
Man, it was interesting, man. A lot of ways it's hard for me to even explain, but in some ways, man, I don't know, man. I thought my career was gonna go a certain way, and it didn't. I got to Chicago, man. I thought Chicago was,
Deion Sanders rapping. I don't know if you played this game, but AJ was getting Florida State. Now, tell me about the story about Jimmy Johnson putting this in videotape about the Seminole rap.
Oh, you know about that? I thought that was a secret. I thought only two Miami people knew about that one, huh?
Yeah, so I watched the you documentary.
The 30 for 30. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, okay. They just spilled all the beans. They tell everything on the dog on 30 for 30. Shout out to them. But anyway, so it was my first year actually getting a chance to play. And I have a very unique story, but you ain't got no time on your show for me to get into all that. But my story was that I got there in '88. I got a chance to play as a true freshman. One of the only true, Daryl Spencer and myself, we got a chance to travel with the travel squad as true freshman. So anyway, we're getting ready to play Florida State, and we always had that Thursday night meeting, team meeting, where we go in and pick the captain, we get our season, our ticket list done and stuff like that. So we're sitting in there, we're waiting on coach, and all of a sudden, the ticket guy shows up. He's got a friend of his from Florida State, but we're not paying attention to him. We just know that our ticket guy hands out our list. He goes through and makes sure everybody's filling out their list for tickets for families and stuff like that. So we're all going through this and we're writing it down. All of a sudden, Jimmy walks in. And mind you, back then, when a head coach walked into a meeting, no matter what you were doing, no matter where you were, you all of a sudden you stood at attention. You sat down, you stopped talking. When he walked in, and this is Jimmy's deal, when he walked in, everybody was at attention. I don't care who you were, Michael Irvin, Benny Blake, it didn't matter. Melvin Brad, Lonzo House, stars of the team. Everybody gave him the due respect that he deserved. And they shut up and they listened. So this particular night, going through the ticket the whole night, all right, bam, all of a sudden Jimmy opens the door, he walks in, everybody gets quiet. Jimmy sees this guy with the Florida State shirt on from across the room. And we ain't really paying attention to it. Hey man, it's a big game, we're trying to get tickets and stuff done. So all of a sudden he makes a beeline to this guy. And he snatches the ticket, the sheets of paper out of our ticket guy's hand, and he tells him to get out. And he says, if I never catch this guy up here again, you will never work in the city of mine as long as I'm here. So now we're already at attention, but now he's got everybody's attention. I'm talking about everybody's like, wow, what's going on? So he tries to put the video in our big club meeting room, and it doesn't work. They said, you know what, get this, let's go. So the entire travel squad was probably about 60 kids, 60 players, went into his office. Mind you, back then, where they had the big flow model screen, TV, big old wooden TV on the ground or whatever. And we all piled up in his office, put the video in, turned the lights on. Everybody's quiet. Nobody's saying nothing. I'm a true freshman, so I don't know what's going on. I'm like, wow, this is intense. Video comes on. Mine didn't talk about it, I don't believe. His two sons were part of directing the video. Jimmy's son helped orchestrate that video. So you see him at the very beginning of the video. They went full respect from what I'm saying. And we sit there and we're looking at this video. Deion Sanders rapping, everybody just singing, rapping, doing their thing. And you can feel the tension in that room. Now mind you, this is my first time being a part of this, so I don't know what's going on. This is my first ever Thursday night meeting, getting ready for a football game. And man, the tension was just, you could cut it with a knife. All of a sudden, the TV goes 35, 40 seconds, just like that. Nobody said a word. You couldn't see nothing. All you could do is you could feel that tension. When you turn the light back on, I don't think I have to say anything else. And he got up and walked out. Oh my God. Dude, man, they almost tore up that office. I'm talking about what them dudes were hot. And we played Florida State that night, we'd have beat them 60-0. They were lucky that we had that night and Friday, all day Friday night, calmed down a little bit. Then we played them that Saturday night. Tension was still high, but not as high as it was Thursday night. Unbelievable game. It was my first taste of true Miami Hurricane football, and it was unbelievable. And it set the stage for my next 4 years later at the University of Miami.
Yeah, I won that game 31-0. David Smith was down to like 6 yards on 10 carries, so I shut him down. You know, David Garrett scored a touchdown. Yeah, I dominated that game 31. Actually, Florida State, I think, was preseason number 1 going into that
Yeah.
game.
Florida State was ranked preseason number 1. That was supposed to be the first team to ever start number 1 and end number 1. And we destroyed it. We completely destroyed it. You know, it's very similar to what happened the other night with Clemson and Ohio State. When Clemson was able to go in, Ohio State was able to go in and take all those clips and Dabo Swinney and all these guys were saying about their team and put that stuff on the bulletin board. And they probably showed the video in today's time. And Ohio State went out there with a purpose. And that's what we did. That's what we did back in 1988.
Yeah.
So it's just a rendition of what happened, over 30 years ago.
Yeah. Florida State was preseason number 1. That was preseason number 8.
Yeah. Because we knew you hated us. We wanted to take it over dynasties in college football. So why change it? So, again, we all lobbied, but, the powers to be had their.
So, unfortunately, losing that second time that year, Notre Dame, and
That's what happened. At the beginning of the game, I had just come off of an injury. So not only are we playing against the guy that called us everything in the book, but the child of God, we got a chance to win this game to go play for a national championship. And we had a pretty good understanding that we were going to win the national championship. We didn't think anybody else was on the skip that could beat us out. Penn State was a very tough game for us. Tony Sacca, O.J. McDuffie, Al Golden was a tight end. Mark D'Onofrio was a great linebacker at that particular time. They had a pretty darn good squad. Then you had, I want to say it was Richie McKenzie, who's from Fort Lauderdale. They called him the 8th wonder of the world at one time. He was up there on that particular squad. So it was a tough game. It was a great game. And Darrell Williams ended up intercepting the ball towards the end.
Yeah, the goal line.
To help seal the win. But that was one of the most gratifying victories I've ever had in my life, was to beat Joe Paterno and Penn State.
Big plays from Horace Copley at 80-yard touchdown catch, 80 yards from Gino Torretta, 91-yard punt return by Kevin Williams, and 43-yard touchdown catch from Kamar Thomas. So,
it was a total team victory, man. Everybody played. Everybody played hard in that game.
Now, I get to the main event of that year was number 1 versus number 2. Florida State Seminole, which I won 16-16. Talk about leading up to that game. Florida State, that year was preseason number 1. Going into that season, they were the team to deal with. Talk about that game. That was number 2. Talk about that matchup. Number 1 versus number 2. Wide right. Talk about that game. Leading up to that game.
Well, it's Florida State, baby. This is a difference maker tonight. This is those games when we played in that era always had national championship written all over. Whoever won that game was probably going to play for the national championship. And it was, we wanted to win the national championship, and we knew in order for us to win that, we had to go through Florida State. We had to. So going into that game, it's a normal Florida State week, just like any other year. It's Florida State. When you a whole lot of film study, extra work in the weight room, longer practices. You may skip a class or two. But it was Florida State week. So your focus and the tension and the height of the game is a little bit, a little bit different with this week. Especially now with my senior year, we didn't want to, we didn't want to take the chance of not winning the national championship. So everything, we just got turned up a notch. We practiced, when we worked our butts off. And the underclassmen, that class is right behind me. Jesse Armstead, Mike Barrows, Darren Smiths, the Coleman Bells, the Dallas Spencers, Lamar Thomases, the Gino Torettas. Gino won the Heisman that year. They wanted to make sure that we went out the right way.
You won in 92.
Was it 92 or 91?
91.
Yeah, I was coaching.
Yeah, Desmond Howard.
That's right. Desmond Howard won it. That's right.
92. Right.
Well, he should have won in 92, 91. But anyway, but we wanted to make sure that we went out as winners. They wanted to make sure that, that our quest was achieved. So, we worked our butts off. Now, I'll tell you what, if you go back and look at that game, Steve McGuire had a phenomenal game.
Yeah,
Steve McGuire had a phenomenal game. He was taking it to Marvin Jones. And we wanted Marvin. We wanted Marvin in Miami. Man, Marvin went to Miami Northwestern. We thought we had a shot at Marvin. Marvin saw those other guys because he's a year behind those guys. And he felt that he wasn't going to play. And then his brother played a bit at Florida State. So he went to Florida State. So we took that personal. We always had a little grudge against him. But Steve McGuire brought it to him in that game. He took it to him. Kirk Carruthers, all those guys. They had Edgar Bennett. They had the Fab Four, Terry Anthony, Lawrence Dawson. Lawrence Dawson had just took us to town the year before that. Lawrence Dawson broke the NCAA reception record on his 90 in the Orange Bowl with 13 receptions the year before that. So we had to come back and redeem ourselves against Florida State. But I tell you what, Coleman Bell made a catch on a third long situation, I believe it was. That allowed us to go ahead and continue to drive and score and win that football game.
21 yards.
Yes, sir. And it was a very acrobatic catch. It wasn't easy. It was a hell of a catch.
Yeah.
But it just showed you the commitment that our guys had for winning that football game. And there was a play on there, and arguably one of the greatest plays I've ever made in my life, down on the goal line, which held them to we had a great goal line stance. But I ran through William Floyd, bar none. They made a cannonball after William Floyd. But anyway, ran through William Floyd, tackled Anthony for a 7-yard loss on the goal line, and it held them to a field goal, and that's we won the game, 17-16. Had they scored, I don't know if we would have won the game. Mind you, they kept trying to say that I gave up the play to allow them to get down on the goal line in the first place, but that was Ryan McNeil. Go back and look at the play, Ryan. You know you're supposed to have to cover that dude out there. It was a quarter coverage. You didn't see Anthony run to the sideline, so you messed up that play, Ryan. But that's cool. I got you, man. That's how we Hurricane.
Yeah. Steve McGuire had 22 catches, 142 yards. He definitely had a big game. The thing about your teams back then, I knew how to win the fourth quarter. I was trailing 16-7, and every time it's that field goal. And the thing is that another thing that stands out in that game was Horace Copeland caught a 9-yard pass on 4th down and 6. That was a huge play. That was a play of the game.
On Terrell Butler. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Terrell, we down there inside in the low red zone area, and Buck is backed off.
defense when you had to block it. Talk about that.
You know that I was actually on the field, and I was inside of Daryl Williams. I was on the tackle at the time, and going in, when the ball was snapped or whatever, we all ran, and nobody knew what was going on until because I'm on the field, so I'm like, I didn't get a chance to see it until everybody starts screaming, yelling to see, how our sideline was reacting, so we knew we had missed it. It was a chip shot. I mean, it was one of those things where we felt that we didn't block it, that he was going to make it, and for him to miss that. But again, it comes down to pressure. I mean, you're talking University of Miami, Florida State, 1 and 2. This game, whoever wins this game will probably win the national championship. And you're talking 65, 70,000 people in the stands. That's a lot of pressure. We were used to that pressure. Carlos Borgia would have made that field goal. We were used to that pressure because we're used to our coaches putting that type of pressure on us. So having to please that 65,000 was nothing like having to please Jimmy Johnson. So it is what it is. He missed it. We won a national championship. But again, we put that type of pressure on guys like them. That mystique of being a Miami Hurricane, winning all those national championships, playing at that particular game in Florida State at Bill Campbell Stadium, on a Saturday afternoon. That's a lot of pressure. I wouldn't wish that on nobody. But I'm glad he was the guy that got it because we ended up winning. But it's I'm 51 years old, and I can see us sit here and talk about stuff like that. That's a blessing just to be a part